There's been so much written about Jeffrey Epstein over the years that you'd think the man was a one-man publishing industry. Flight logs, guest lists, island rumors, the whole circus. But buried beneath the noise, almost deliberately blurred, lies the actual story, the thread that ties everything together, the bit the commentators tiptoe around, the Israeli connection. And trust me, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because the Epstein links didn't just reveal a falling financier, they opened a door the American establishment hoped would remain firmly locked. Not a door of gossip, though the media is perfectly happy to wallow in it for days on end, but the door that leads straight into the machinery of American power. And what emerges is, well, let's call it what it is, a vice network, a triangular system built on money, politics and sex, each side feeding the other, each side reinforcing the other, and at the center of it all, a foreign influence machine that has spent decades learning exactly how to capture the world's most powerful elite. And Epstein, he wasn't an accident, he wasn't a rogue actor, he wasn't even particularly clever, he was the face, the charming, disgusting, well-connected face of something far bigger. Think about it. His closest confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of Robert Maxwell, a man whose Mossad ties are practically an open secret. His business ties, running through Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister who kept visiting Epstein even after the conviction, and conveniently headed Carbine, an Israeli security tech firm Epstein invested in. And then there's the revelation from Dropsite News. Yoni Koren, a senior Israeli intelligence officer, literally living in Epstein's Manhattan home for long stretches between 2013 and 2016, living in his house. You tell me, does that sound like a man orbiting intelligence circles or a man at their very center? Exactly. But possibly the most disturbing revelation isn't about Epstein at all. It's about the elite who flocked to him from Texas boardrooms to Abu Dhabi palaces, fawning over him like he was the maître d'or of the global power club. Because he was the key holder, the man who could get you into rooms normal politicians only dreamt of, rooms where consequences vanished and appetites reigned. Epstein's world, the island, the jets, the apartments, wasn't a playground. It was a trap, a factory of leverage, a catalogue of weaknesses, a one-stop compromat shop. And here's the bitter truth. A compromised man is a controlled man. A guilty man is an obedient man who would sign anything. And a man terrified of exposure, well, he's practically gift-wrapped for whoever wants to use him. Which brings us to the daylight arm of the same machine, AIPAC. If Epstein was the covert tool, the psychological, sexual, compromising mechanism, then AIPAC was the visible one, the financial arm, the legislative arm. One seduced, the other bought, two halves of one system. Last year alone, AIPAC funneled over $53 million into American elections, backing 361 candidates. That's not philanthropy, that's procurement. But here's where it gets interesting, because the facade is cracking. AIPAC's annual congressional trips collapsing. In 2023, 24 first-term Democrats went. This year, 11 out of 33. 7 even pulled out after their flights were booked. Even Hakeem Jeffries, once a loyal attendee, didn't turn up. And that says a lot. Candidates are returning donations. Governors like Gavin Newsom and Josh Shapiro are squirming when asked if AIPAC money compromises them, which, by the way, it obviously does. And the polling, devastating. Candidates backed by pro-Israel lobbies are now more likely to lose support than gain it, especially among young and democratic voters. As the progressive Jewish writer Peter Baynard put it, they don't fear AIPAC, they fear being associated with AIPAC. And the panic is palpable. AIPAC released a bizarre little video insisting it is funded by Americans, which is exactly the sort of thing you say when you're worried no one believes you anymore. But here's the real paradox. AIPAC may be losing its domestic shine, yet its grip on American foreign policy remains solid. Public opinion shifts quickly, power structures do not. And so, even as the lobby becomes a political liability at home, US foreign policy remains welded to Israel's interests abroad. Iraq, Afghanistan, Gaza, Iran, wars and occupations that bled America while benefiting someone else entirely. No empire in history has ever surrendered its grand strategy to the anxieties of a much smaller state, except one whose elites are compromised, corrupted, and controlled. And this ultimately is what the Epstein files reveal. Not not a lone predator, not a salacious scandal, but a system built on moral decay, on vice, foreign influence, intelligence operations, and political servitude. Epstein wasn't the glitch, he was the blueprint. And so we're left with the only question that really matters: who actually governs the United States? Its elected officials or the foreign network that owns their secrets, funds their careers, and feeds on their corruption? Because a country whose leaders are this easily compromised can't claim sovereignty. A republic whose elites are this cheaply bought can't claim legitimacy, and a superpower that can't even govern itself has no business pretending to lead the world. So when exactly will America insist, not in slogans, not in theatre, but in action, that its government belongs to its people and not to Tel Aviv? That is the question the Epstein files leave behind, and it's not going away.